Coming up on Oakdale Update, we'll talk with the city's Community Development Director about the Neighborhood Enhancement Program. We'll take a look at the new forest gardens and boardwalk at the Oakdale Nature Preserve. Stay tuned, Oakdale Update is straight ahead. Hello, welcome to Oakdale Update. I'm your host, Frank Orsello. This is the City of Oakdale's news and information program about your community. I'm joined in the studio today by the city's Community Development Director, Bob Streeter, to talk about a variety of topics, including the Neighborhood Enhancement Program, the Comprehensive Plan Update, and how businesses come to the city. Bob, thanks for joining us on Oakdale Update today.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
It's a beautiful day out there, but I want to thank you for being here because I know you're pretty busy and you'd rather be outside anyway. Okay, give me a little history about yourself. Tell me about yourself.
Well, I've been with the city for almost 9 years as the Community Development Director, and our department does the planning, land use planning, does the redevelopment, the housing and neighborhood work, the environmental work, and the economic development work for the city.
Okay. Where were you before you came to Oakdale? You've been here for 9 years, is that correct?
Yeah, yep.
Wow.
Yep. I was with the city of Columbia Heights, and then before that I was with the city of Minnetonka.
Okay. So you defined what all that is, but tell me, what exactly is your job in relation to that? Well,
I'm there to direct and guide and support 3 individuals. Emily Shively, who's the planner, who works with the Planning Commission, Linnea Graf-Under-Bartels, who works with the Economic Development Commission, and Jen Hasselbrooks, who works with the Environmental Management Commission. So I'm there as a mentor and a coach and a support to help them carry out the work of the city council.
Okay. Good staff people. I know them all.
Yeah, very good.
They're very good people.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Tell me, in the grand scheme of things, how's Oakdale doing? Just as an overall picture, how's Oakdale doing?
Well, Oakdale's always done well. They're going through a bit of a transition now as they're becoming a fully developed city, and they're beginning to look at new opportunities and challenges that they're going to be faced with, and they're responding in a very proactive, what I think is going to be very effective way.
Mm-hmm. How about industry coming in and housing and that sort of thing? That's going to be happening pretty soon, correct?
Yeah, in the last couple of years we've seen a pickup in development as the result of coming out of the recession. There's some housing development. You've seen some of the commercial and industrial development. There's a lot more interest, so things are going to go well.
Okay. Now, we're going to talk about three topics we're going to cover today. Mm-hmm. And the first one being Neighborhood Preservation and Enhancement Initiative. What does all that mean? Tell us what that means.
So the bottom line is the City Council, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, recognized that there's been a lot of demographic change within the city between 1990 and 2010. So you've got the population's getting older, there are fewer households with kids, we're becoming more diverse, our housing stock is aging, and our commercial and industrial building stock is aging. Nothing bad in and of itself. So what they said is, going forward for the next 20 years, how do we prepare for that? Because the first 30 years of Oakdale, we planned mostly for growth. But now we're shifting into how do we take care of what we have, and how do we make sure it stays of high quality. So the Neighborhood Preservation and Enhancement Initiative, that framework, took just neighborhoods, just the residential areas of our city, and put together a framework that focused the city's attention on those things that can keep Oakdale's neighborhoods in high demand.
So when you say you take neighborhoods, the north end, south end, east end, that kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, we look at, if the city's broken into commercial and industrial and residential, so it's all the residential housing stock, and then we break down the city into 18 census block groups. And so there are, in effect, 18 different types of neighborhoods in the city. And each of those is evaluated, and it's assessed, and it's treated based upon what its needs and strengths are.
So you have some older housing just even across the street from the City Hall.
Yes.
South of that, down by Tanner's Lake, there's some older houses too. And probably north is more newer, I guess. But so, so what would be your plans for these houses?
So the framework, as I said, it focuses on three pieces: housing investment, amenity and disamenity. So those things in the neighborhood that make people want to stay and move there, and those things that make people want to leave and not move there, and then social capital. So on housing investment, what we want to do is make sure the housing is in good physical condition and that it's as functionally attractive as possible, because housing in good physical shape and in good function is going to be more attractive in the market. So the council put together a list of 10 strategies to sort of get at and promote housing investment. And they just adopted those, I think, about a month ago.
Okay, so does this mean that is the city helping them with loans, low-cost loans and that kind of thing to upgrade their houses if that's needed?
Yeah, one of the things we do is, first of all, there are, like the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency and other nonprofits that provide housing finance for lower or low-income buyers to do physical improvements. We do some of that, but we don't duplicate what's already being done. We try to find a niche where people need that, but it's not being served by others. So low-interest loans, we do that. We do an interest rate write-down program, which reduces an interest rate down to about, I think, 2% or 1% from 5%. We also provide, through our nonprofit partners, construction management assistance. So if you're going to do a kitchen remodeling, you've never done it, it's kind of overwhelming, we have somebody that will come in to our nonprofit partner to walk you through that process. You know, to figure out what you need to do, put together the scope of work, and then come out through the process, and then at the end to make sure it was done right. Those are some of the things that the council has initiated.
Okay, that particular item, I have never seen any advertising for that, or how are they supposed to know about this? I've never seen anything about it.
Right.
What do they do? Well, they would never call the city if they didn't know anything about it. So how do we get that word out?
No, you're right. When the council adopted those strategies, because first they had to decide if they wanted to do it, and they did. Now staff's role is to implement them. So we're building that relationship, or we're entering into those agreements with our nonprofit partners, and then that information, as it becomes available, will be put on the city's website. We'll have a neighborhoods and housing webpage.
Okay.
So it'll all be there.
And probably little articles in the paper or something like that too
There'll
to help out?
There'll be articles in the paper, and also another thing we're going to be doing is targeted mailings. So rather than mail everybody in the city, we're going to look at those neighborhoods that are probably need that service the most, and we're just going to target those, our resources, where the need's the greatest.
Okay. I seem to recall 3-4 years ago, you people targeted Tanner's Lake area because some of the houses were old, decrepit, and in very poor shape. Tell me about that. How'd that work out, and what'd you do, and how did it work out?
Well, there was a couple $100,000. We cobbled together a variety of resources from the State Housing Finance Agency, the Washington County HRA, and the city, and we marketed it. And all that money got spent. So there was a fair amount of demand for that. And that is one of the older parts of the city. But, you know, siding and roofs and windows, those basic things that everybody needs.
So you spent how much? 100,000?
Well, it was a couple $100,000.
Couple $100,000.
Not city money. We leveraged additional resources from our state partners.
And it really worked, didn't it? I mean, it
yeah.
really worked.
Yep. And when we got into the recession, that we no longer offer that. There was a decision that we're not going to do that now. Now that we're coming out of the recession, we're going to pick that back up, and we get calls all the time.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we get them weekly.
You do?
Yeah.
So these are people that are looking for low-interest loans to redo their house, is that correct?
Yeah, a lot of times it's emergency loans. For example, there was a family that had a cracked basement wall, and their kitchen wall was kind of collapsing because the basement wall had parted. So they came in and they got a $13,000 emergency loan, and they fixed it, and it saved not only their basement but their kitchen, and they're paying it back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was available. But that's a wonderful thing. All right, so the goal of the neighborhood preservation is to ensure neighborhoods remain a desirable place to live. So there's 3 parts to this. So I'm going to ask you, and you explain them to me. Okay, the first is strategic framework. Explain that.
The framework is nothing more than, the framework is there to focus the council's attention on those things that have the biggest impact in making sure neighborhoods remain attractive. And so we measure that by median housing value. And that's how we know if it's going up relative to the city, we know there's greater demand. If it's not rising as fast, maybe not as much in demand, and we want to ask why. So housing investment, and I've talked about that. Amenity and disamenity, so things like crime and parks and congestion, we look for those kinds of things we can address. And then social capital, which is a way to build community and promote neighborhoods so they get together and they work together. So if there is something that they don't like about their neighborhood or something they want to maintain, they feel comfortable in approaching City Hall and asking for the assistance and support they need. So that's the framework.
Okay, so this, and the city's part of that, I suppose, is new streets and that sort of thing? New streets and curbs and gutters?
Yeah, under the amenity, disamenity, yep, and Brian Bachmeyer and Public Works and the City Council have done a real nice job in routinely upgrading and maintaining roads, so that's handled pretty well. So there's something for every department, for Public Works and Police and Recreation and Community Development. So every department has a role in this framework.
Very interesting. Yep. Okay, now the other one is neighborhood status quality. What does that mean?
Well, as I was saying, the best single indicator to determine if a neighborhood is in demand, if it's the kind of neighborhood people want to move to and stay in, you look at housing sale price. If that's staying stable and rising relative to the median in the city, that means people find the housing attractive, and then the neighborhood, the area around it, whether it's parks, trails, access to work, those other kind of amenities beyond housing, they find it attractive. So if things are going well, the sale price rises, stays the same or rises. And so we have different neighborhoods in the community. We have neighborhoods 350, 400,000, and neighborhoods that are 150,000. There needs to be neighborhoods for every sort of income. So we don't discriminate or differentiate between the very high priced and the lower priced, because every neighborhood needs a good housing stock and it needs to be safe and serviceable.
So you're saying that the city pays attention to the upper end of the bottom end too, is that
everybody,
correct?
Yeah, we pay attention to everybody. And we provide programming based upon where it's needed to preserve what's already there or enhance maybe what's not going so well.
You know what, just as an aside, how does the police department fit into this? Maybe what crime, they check, make sure the crime, they keep track of the crime?
Well, I'd have to defer to Bill Sullivan. I know they look at the city in terms of neighborhoods or areas, and they do a very good job, but beyond that, you'd probably have to ask him.
Oh, okay. All right, so housing stock investment now, that's the third one. Go ahead.
Well, let me just kind of touch on something you said earlier, Frank, when you talked about assessment. We looked at all 18 neighborhoods, and we looked at a variety of factors to try to determine the level of housing investment, how people felt about the amenities and disamenities, and the level of social capital. And then we kind of rated them as above average and rising, above average and declining, below average or the median and rising, and below the median and declining. So kind of we put them in 4 sectors. And then we focus most of our enhancement resources on the neighborhoods where maybe they're a little bit below the median and they're declining in some of those. They don't see as much housing investment, or there's issues with maybe some crime, or there's not a lot of social capital. Typically where you have neighborhoods that are high in rental, you don't have a lot of social capital because people aren't there long enough to develop those. So in building social capital in those neighborhoods, you have to take a different approach.
Now, you're saying that you did surveys. Is this, the staff did surveys, or who does surveys?
Well, we looked at a variety of different quantitative or numerical measures, and that was the first thing. The second thing, the county or the city is going to be undertaking a community-wide survey. And in that survey, we're going to ask people, what do you like about your neighborhood? What would you like to keep? What would you like to change? So that's kind of step 2 of this assessment.
When is that going to happen?
I think that's going to happen in the next 30 to 60 days.
Really?
Yep.
Good. I love surveys. I love to be involved in surveys. You're going to do my neighborhood? I mean, up at the north end, say?
Well, it's the firm that does it calls people. So if you're randomly selected.
Okay.
So I think it takes about 20 minutes.
It isn't a written survey that's going to come in the mail?
Comes on the phone.
On the phone?
Telephone.
Okay, that might be a problem because most people will hang up before, huh?
Yeah, well, they're pretty successful. They have a pretty high response rate.
Interesting. Okay. All right, and the last one, neighborhood attributes, amenities, and disamenities. What does that mean?
So when you look at that, you ask yourself, if people like the house and the housing stock, there's other things outside the housing stock that people shop for. They purchase a neighborhood. So they'll look at crime, and they'll look at the condition of housing stock, because that's an indicator of future expectations are going to get better or get worse. They'll look for location to parks and trails. They may look at location to other retail services they use on a regular basis. But the big thing they look at is school quality. And we don't have any control over that as a city, but the council can reach out and work with the school board on making sure that our schools remain attractive and a place where people want to go to school, because the city can do all kinds of things to make the neighborhood, but if the schools aren't in high demand or people don't perceive them as being that, that has an impact on who moves into our neighborhood and who leaves.
It's a pretty important part of the equation here, isn't it? The local schools, right?
Yep, it is. That's probably the number one reason why people who are moving from Ramsey County with children move to Oakdale. It's a place where you can afford a house and you've got good schools.
Very important, isn't it? Yeah. All right, so the second topic is comprehensive plan update. Now, this is where the city, I'll let you explain it. What exactly is that? Comprehensive plan update.
So the comprehensive plan is simply the business plan for the city over the next 10 to 20 years. So every city has to plan for its physical development, and its physical development as it impacts the economy and the social community. So a comprehensive plan has 8 parts: transportation, water resources, water, sewer, storm, housing, economic development, resilience, parks, and trails. It's got a variety of chapters. And in those chapters, the community, you, Frank, and others on the commissions and the council and the community at large, has an opportunity to think about where they want to be in 10 to 20 years. So you mentioned the survey earlier that the council is undertaking. Part of that survey will be used to get at what people think is important, what they like about Oakdale, what they'd like to preserve, and what they'd like to change. But that comprehensive plan process, there's a lot of community engagement, there's a lot of data analysis, but over 18 months, when it's complete in the middle of 2018, the council will have a vision for what the next 10 to 20 years looks like in Oakdale. So for example, the housing chapter, given that we have an aging population, the council may decide one of the goals ought to be to promote the construction of more senior housing. So people who've lived in a house here and who have friendships here, who've gone to church here, and a variety of things, that they can stay in the community without having to move 30 miles away. So that's an example of how the comprehensive plan is used.
Sure, and part of that comprehensive plan is the Met Council is involved. What is their role? And go ahead. What's their role?
So what the Met Council does is basically it looks at let me answer it this way. The Met Council runs a wastewater system, a park system. They're involved in transportation. So what they do is they want to make sure that when cities take actions in their comprehensive plan, that they're coordinated with regional plans. So we're not doing some kind of road improvement that's going to cause problems, in the larger transportation system. The other thing they do is they make sure that cities next to each other, when they're updating their comprehensive plans, that they're talking to each other, and what's happening in Lake Elmo, for example, doesn't impact Oakdale in a negative way, and vice versa. So they're a coordinating body and sort of a clearinghouse to make sure that everybody is on the same page. But basically, Oakdale gets to decide its future. It's not the Met Council that decides
so
that.
You kind of, you have your plan, and then you more or less bring it to the Met Council, and they, not necessarily okay it, but they just coordinate it with other communities. Is
they
that
make
correct?
sure the appropriate reviews are done,
Sure.
and there are no conflicts with the regional systems or adjacent cities. And then they send it back and the council adopts it. We also send it out to all of our adjacent cities. So our plan, Woodbury gets to review. We get to review Woodbury's and Maplewood. So all the cities that are together work together.
Okay. All right, our last topic, we're going to talk about business development. What is a general process for a business to come to Oakdale?
So generally what happens is I'll get a phone call, or the planner will get a phone call, either from a broker or a small business owner, and they'll be looking for space. Sometimes they'll have a building in mind or a piece of land, and then we'll help them figure out how to get into that building or develop a building on the property. A lot of times they're just looking for space, so we have access to a third-party software. It's called Xceligent. So a business may call and say, I need 15,000 square feet or 60,000 square feet, and they'll describe the building attributes. We'll print off a list and we'll send it to them. Once they've decided to come to Oakdale, or maybe they've got the land under contract, or they've chosen a building to move into, then a lot of times they're going to need permits from the city whether they're building or planning. So we invite them in and we meet with them. It's very informal. And we ask them, okay, what is it you want to do by what time? And then we lay out for them, okay, here's what you're going to need to do. And so I kind of look at it like we try to make it easier to do better. We don't want to make things difficult, but recognizing that Oakdale does have standards and we want to make sure that they're followed.
Okay, so a business comes to Oakdale. This is our last question here, we're running out of time. So a business comes to Oakdale and they make all their presentation and everything is right, the neighborhood and the district, everything is right, but the city is a little lukewarm to the business, you know, some oddball thing, maybe pollution down the road or something. What's the city's options in a situation like that?
So if a business comes in and wants to occupy a building, let's say, and maybe the council thinks or the community thinks they'd like to have that kind of business, the city doesn't have the ability to regulate private property in that way. So as long as they meet our current zoning ordinance and subdivision and building code, they get a permit. The city does not have a lot of discretion on what to tell a private property owner about the types of uses they can have in their building. So the other thing that the council does, which is really good, is they have a fast track process. So if a business does come in and they meet all the standards, they don't have to go to the planning commission. They go right to the city council, and it shortens it up by 60 days. And we've used that, if you recall, a few years ago, Park Tool, that constructed their building on Hatley. From the time they expressed an interest till the time they opened the door was 5 months.
And that is almost unheard of in the construction industry.
Right, yeah, they built a whole new building.
Absolutely. And I've talked to many contractors who think Oakdale is the slickest place in the world to get their permits done and get everything, get going. Okay, Bob, we are so out of time, it's a fright. But we covered a lot of things, and I hope hope our audience can understand it all, because it's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, well, thanks, Frank. And if anybody has any further questions, they can call me.
Call you at the city, and your number is?
651-730-2806.
Okay. Thanks for joining us today.
All right. Thanks, Frank.
It's time for a short break. We'll be right back with more of Oakdale Update in just a minute.
Hi, I'm Joe Cullen, host of Northeast Journal here on GTN Channel 16. Every month on Northeast Journal, we give you an inside look at the people and places that make up the Northeast section of the Twin Cities. On this month's show, we'll take a look at some recent events in North St. Paul. We'll get a preview of Heritage Days in Vandas Heights, and we'll take in some nature in Oakdale. So be sure to tune in to the August edition of Northeast Journal right here on GTN Channel 16.
Welcome back to Oakdale Update. If you're looking for some nature to enjoy while the weather is still nice, then head over to the Oakdale Nature Preserve to see the new forest gardens and the boardwalk across Mud Lake. We recently visited with City Forester Chris Larson to get a sneak peek.
Today we're in the Oakdale Forest Garden. It was a planting that's been done over the course of a couple different years. We've had two big events, one in 2014 and another one in May of 2016 to complete the forest garden. I'm Chris Larson. I'm the City of Oakdale Forester. Right now at the Oakdale Forest Garden is a short walk in from the Discovery Center. The Oakdale Discovery Center is located in a 220-acre nature preserve, and a short hike in on a paved trail brings you back to the heart of Oakdale Park, and right at the heart of Oakdale Park is the Oakdale Forest Garden. This all started with a buckthorn removal event in 2009. This area was completely thick with buckthorn. So in October of 2009, volunteers removed all the buckthorn, and just the area lended itself to a great potential ecological planting, as well as an area that could invite the public in to view the ecology and the restoration that was in progress. The first Saturday of May this year, we had over 100 volunteers show up to the Oakdale Nature Preserve to come and help establish the plantings, we had 6 different polycultures. Polycultures are just assemblages of plants that mutually benefit each other. A lot of it's native plants and pollinator plants, and we had the volunteers come in a 4-hour time period with that many people. We had everything installed and watered and mulched. People will be able to come into the Oakdale Forest Garden and not only enjoy the beautiful flowers, but eventually we have some apple trees in here too to invite people in. With this year's planting, we added the triple play, which is 3 different apple trees in one clump, and we have the triple play right over there. The triple play is Honeycrisp, the Sweet 16, and the Cortland all in one. The Oakdale Tree Board saw it as it followed our mission of combining, tree planting, building community, and also restoring one of the most vital resources of Oakdale Park. Buckthorn can actually be really attractive wood. Some of the shapes are nice, so we actually took some of the larger buckthorn from the site and different sites in the park, and we made arbors. It's just abundant with different types of birds and other wildlife, and that's all because of the different plant material, the diversity of plants. We were fortunate to partner with the Oakdale Maplewood Lions Club, and they not only volunteered their time to come out and participate in the planting, but they also provided funding. They donated a memorial bench. They donated funds to actually put in a pollinator planting just right over there, and we also partnered with the Valley Branch Watershed District. They saw the benefit of restoring not only native ecology, it's close to wetlands, but they like the community aspect. We want to create a fungal environment. Our fruiting shrubs and hardwood trees, it'll make them thrive a little bit better. They prefer a slightly acidic fungal environment for growth. Oakdale Nature Preserve is unique in the metro area. It's kind of an oasis. You can get away from a lot of the noise, not all of it, but you really lose yourself in the park. It's a hidden jewel. It's 220 acres, and you can get into, kind of forget about everything else. You feel like you're up north or in the boundary waters at different times, depending on what parts of the park you're in. It's really nice. For more information, people, if they have any questions about the Forest Garden, they could call me at 651-501-5302, and I'd be happy to answer their questions.
That's all we have time for on this month's Oakdale Update. For everyone at the City of Oakdale, thanks for watching.